Morning, Hare Krishna. I'm going to chant some invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya narachaiva narudamam devim sarasvatem vyasam tato jaya mudirayat. For reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. We are reading from the third canto entitled The Status Quo, and we are on text 16. And I need glasses. Chapter 5. That's right. We do a talk with Maitreya, chapter 5, and we are on text 16 of chapter 5. One Sanskrit word at a time. Sa. Vishva, Janma, Stiti, Samyama, Arte, Pita, Avatara, Pragrita, Shakti, Shakara, Karmani, Atipurushani, Yani, Ishvara, Kirtaya, Tani, Mayam, Savishvajamna Stiti Samyamarte, Ita Vatara Prakrita Shakti, Shankara Karmanya Tipurushani, Tanishvara Kirtayatani Mayam, Savishvajanma Stiti Samyamarte, Krita Vatara Ita Shakti, Shakara Karma Yati Purushani, Yanishvaha Kirtayatani Mayam, Savishvajanma Stiti Samyamarte, Krita Vatara Pragrita Shakti, Shakara Karmanya Tripurushani, Yanishvara Kirtayatani Mayam,
Savishvajanma Stiti Samyamarte,
Savishvajanma Stiti Samyamarte,
Pragrita Shakti,
Krita Vatara Pragrita Shakti,
Karmanyati Purushani.
Shakara Karmanyati Purashani. Yanishvara Kirtayatani Mayam. Someone online would like to chant the verse?
Savishvajanmastiti samyamarte.
Savishvajanmastiti samyamarte.
Kritavatara prakrihita shakti.
Kritavatara prakrihita shakti.
Chakara karmanyati purushani.
Chakara karmanyati purushani.
Yanishvara kirtayatani mayam.
Yanishvara kirtayatani mayam. Someone else would like to recite the verse? Yeah, if not, we are going to go a word-for-word translation. Sa,
Sa,
the personality of Godhead.
the personality of Godhead.
Vishva,
Vishva,
universe.
universe.
Janma,
Janma,
creation.
creation.
Stiti,
Stiti,
maintenance.
maintenance.
Samya arte,
Samyama arte,
with the view to perfect control.
with the view to perfect.
Krita,
Krita,
accepted.
accepted.
Avatara,
Avatara,
incarnation.
incarnate.
Pragrihita, Pragrihita, accomplished with.
Accomplished with.
Shakti,
Shakti,
potency. Chakara, perform. Karmani, transcendental activities.
transcendental activity.
Atipurushani,
Ushani,
superhuman.
superhuman.
Yani,
Yani,
all those.
all.
Ishvara,
Ishvara,
the Lord.
the Lord.
Kirtaya,
Kirtaya,
please chant.
please chant.
Tani, all those.
All.
Mayam,
Maya,
unto me.
unto me.
Translation. Kindly chant all those superhuman transcendental activities of the Supreme Controller, the personality of Godhead, who accepted incarnation fully equipped with all potency for the full manifestation and maintenance of the cosmic creation. Vidura, purport by Stephen Christ A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Vidura was undoubtedly very eager to hear about Lord Krishna in particular, but he was overwhelmed because Lord Krishna had just passed away from the visible world. He therefore wanted to hear about him in his Purusha incarnation, which he manifests with full potency for the creation and maintenance of the cosmic world. The activities of the Purusha incarnations are but an extension of the activities of the Lord. This hint was given by Vidura to Maitreya because Maitreya could not decide which part of the activities of the Lord, of Lord Krishna, should be chanted. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyanajalashakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamupakadamayam Dadati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Yari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhya Cha Kripa Sindhubhya Pacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveseshya Shunyavadi Pastyacha Dejatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Okam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Longala Yate Gritim Sagurum Starin Tamaham Vande Saguru Jatarinam, I forgot the word. Hare Krishna, everyone. So I'm going to read again the verse. Kindly chant all those superior one, transcendental activity of the Supreme Controller, the personality of Godhead, who accepted incarnation fully equipped with all potency for the full manifestation and maintenance of the cosmic manifestation. Interestingly, Hare Krishna. Interestingly, a few verses earlier in that chapter, this chapter is Vidura. Vidura had been traveling. He met Uddhava and he heard from Uddhava what was happening with his own family, the Kurus, and with Pandava and with the Yadus. He heard all what was happening from Uddhava, but he didn't hear instruction from Uddhava because Uddhava considered himself junior to Vidura, so he didn't want to take the position of instructing him. So he sent him away to saying like, okay, well, yeah, I heard a lot from the Lord. I heard a lot of instruction. In fact, I'm going to Badarik Aksham right now because the Lord sent me there to give all those instructions to the sages. There is sages there that live through the Kalpa sometimes to all the edges. There is sages that live in Badarik Aksham, like even Vyasadeva is there, he's still there, he's always there. So many sages. And so the Lord sent Uddhava there to give the instruction, to give everything that the Lord wanted the world to know. And at the same time, even so Uddhava had all that knowledge, he felt like, no, it's not proper etiquette. It's not proper etiquette. And part of Vaishnav life is to learn Vaishnav etiquette, Vaishnav rules, Vaishnav regulation, to live as a Vaishnav. So Uddhava was following that, and he said he didn't want to instruct Vidura because Vidura was like the age of his father. He was his uncle, kind of on a level like that. It wasn't very proper. And because when you receive all those instructions, someone else was present, Maitreya. Maitreya was right there as the Lord was departing from this world and instructing Uddhava. So Maitreya heard it all. So Uddhava said, go to Maitreya. And so Uddhava did, Vidura did, and he met Maitreya. And then, of course, when he met Maitreya, he knew in his heart, he wanted to accept Maitreya from the point of view of being a disciple, receiving knowledge. And from that point of view of receiving knowledge, when we want to receive knowledge, then naturally we want to submit a submissive inquiry, tadvidi, pranipatena, parispasnena sevaya, upadekshanti deganam, gyaninas tadvadarshina, like tadvadarshina. That tadva means truth, one who has seen the truth. So if you want to know the truth, you want to approach someone who has seen the truth and inquire from him submissively. So that's what Vidura is doing. He's approaching Maitreya. He didn't know Maitreya before. And he just go to Maitreya and is going to receive knowledge from Maitreya. Well, I don't know if he didn't know Maitreya, because Maitreya does have connection with Vidura, in the sense that he was a disciple of Vyasadeva. So they may have known each other, in fact. And I think at one point he said that they were friends or something, because Maitreya was a disciple of Vyasadeva, who is the father of Vidura. So anyway, I just noticed that at the very beginning of this chapter, when Vidura starts speaking, he already said, "Oh, great sage, can you narrate how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the independent, desireless Lord of the three worlds and the controller of all energies, accept incarnation and create the cosmic manifestation with perfectly arranged regulative principle for its maintenance." So in a sense, like he, at the beginning of his inquiry, he already puts that in the front of Maitreya. And now he's coming to the end of his inquiry. He's coming to the very end of his inquiry, and he have asked so many questions, one after another. We could read all his questions and his questionnaire, the type of question that only a very learned sage or only a very learned, wise man can ask. That's not the kind of question I would ask. But because he's very learned, he was able to ask deep questions that are loaded with knowledge. And so Prabhupada said in the purport that one hint, there's different reasons why Vidura asks the question that he's asking. But one reason is that he has asked so many questions, and starting with about the Purusha, and then he could see Maitreya Rishi not being clear about where to start, where to go. He asked so many questions, and then Srila Prabhupada said, "Vidura, I want you to give a direction." And in giving that direction, he go back to where he started, meaning hearing about the creation and maintenance of the cosmic manifestation. So one can say, well, many people, they think the most interesting part about hearing Krishna Katha, because most of the purports, the last few purports speak about Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha. Krishna means speaking, and Katha means speaking, and Krishna, about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, means speaking about Krishna and the gopis, and Krishna and the spiritual world, and esoteric topics like that. And Vidura is asking about the Purusha avatar, which most people will think oh, this is not a very interesting topic. But that's where Vidura want to hear. So he is directing Maitreya, start there. And that's also where Sukadev Goswami starts with Maharaj Parikshit. So much of part of the first canto calls the creation, and then the cosmic manifestation, second canto, third canto. There is so much about creation. So one can ask why. We can ask ourselves why. So there is, so why? Why? So I like to ask you, I like to make it a little bit more interactive than usual in class. Like a lot of people spend their life inquiring, in a sense, and they look for answer. Scientists, philosopher, isn't it? They look for answer. But I do believe we are all philosophers. Hopefully, I'm correct. And that at one point in our life, we did ask question. Children ask question. What's the moon? What's the sun? Ask question like, how come things grow? It's natural, in fact. So what kind of question did you ask yourself in childhood? Do you remember? or after childhood. I remember in my teenage years also, I was philosophizing all the time. That was my favorite pastime, was to philosophize. I had a very good friend, or like, yeah, we will go on bicycle, and then we will find a field, and then we will lay down and look at the sky. And then we will redo the whole story. We will replay the whole thing. We will speculate for hours about how things work and why. And of course, why this society and the way our parents live is wrong. Definitely, they got it wrong. And all that. And that was really an attempt to figure out what's happened, how everything works. Hamlet, you wanted to say something? Okay. Well, if anyone want to tell me what kind of question, this morning we were reading before Japan, and there is something. I hope I will find it. Let's see if I find it. I wasn't prepared for that. It's just because this morning that came up. And how many pages did you read this morning?
I read two things. One from Maxwell's Gift, and the other was from Bhagavatam, 4th canto. I could find it if you want.
Yeah.
Maybe it's where the bookmark is.
Well, the bookmark is there, but I thought that you turned that Srimad Bhagavatam. Anyway, too bad. I'm not finding what I want to find.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, yes, I found it. Yeah, go ahead.
You found it.
Yeah.
Look, I'm glowing over here.
Yeah, you're very effulgent.
The sun is. I don't have an answer to your question, which it was similar. Like I did have a father who speculated all kinds of things about existence and creation, and I had a best friend too, where we speculated. But something's coming to mind. There's this song by Mangalananda Prabhu.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Questions. Do you remember it, or have you heard of it?
Probably heard it, but
Yeah.
if you're going to remind me.
Well, I really like it a lot. Maybe I'll share it with, in the Facebook group or something, but I'm going to read just this part of it.
Okay.
This came to mind. I found the lyrics online. If you want an interactive class,
well, I want also question, like, I wonder if anyone here still have question. How does the creation take place? Why is that? I don't understand that. It's nice to know, because I can speak, but I don't know if anyone have question about creation, question about how we are here, question about this incarnation, like, okay, who am I? But I want to hear the question, Mananda. Mangalananda, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Go ahead.
Well, it's just one section. It's not long, but so this is like questions deep inside, rising in the course of time. Our reasoning must be satisfied. No longer can we try to hide the questions deep inside. And then this is the part that's like kind of the part of, but then the part that I like a lot is born into a world that's changing right before our eyes. Left with no one else, we finally turn and face the sky. Oh Lord of the universe, creator, tell me why. I was made to want to live, though I'm forced to die. Tell me why. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, we're meant to live, exist eternally, and we are all going to die. How can we compute that? How can we compute death, birth? How can we compute old age and disease? So much, and unless we are numb, really numb, we are going to ask questions. And of course, modern society is more and more catered and made for us to be numb, to really not ask questions, and getting busy with all the problem in the world and the war and the vaccine and so many problems all the time that they are very temporary problems. They are unexistent problem really. And to prevent us to really ask questions about the real problem, birth, death, or death, disease. Anandini, you have your hand raised.
Yes, Hare Krishna. I have many questions, and I had many questions as a child. So as a child, when I had most questions came when I was looking at the stars in the sky at night. Like, where are they? How far away are they? Does someone live in these stars? Is it possible to visit them? I remember these questions. And also today, I do have questions about creation. Like the change of body, not also in the lifetime, but also over many, many years. How, what bodies did in the time of Arjuna, what bodies did they have? I have questions about what is really the cause of the, what's really happening with the climate, not what is the mainstream science saying, but what is really happening.
The external cause and the real cause.
Yeah, and
yes.
Why is there less and less nourishment in the soil, for example? Yeah, I have many questions.
There's so many questions like that. Yeah, so many questions. And we are made to ask questions. Atato Brahma Vigyasya, Jivasya Tattva Vigyasa. We are made to inquire about all those things and wonder and look at the world, not allowing ourselves to be brainwashed by modern society, not being brainwashed by the duality of cause and effects that we are fed with, and to really step out. Yeah, what kind of body? Yeah, what kind of relationship these people had? What kind of relationship? There is a place in India where there is a footprint of Sita. You shared that, isn't it, in your class? Anyway, there is a place in India where there is a footprint of Sita, and I think our footprint is like 3 or 4 foot long. So that means people were a lot taller, like way taller, for example, in Satya Yuga. And then their life was hundreds of thousands of years long. And of course, at the end of Satya Yuga, it kind of start to decrease. And all the virtue, like some vice is coming in Satya Yuga, there's no vice. So we can imagine people function, their bodies, their health, everything is very different. Their connection with nature, just the fact of their surrender, that they receive nurturement from no resistance. And then vice start to come in at the beginning of Treta Yuga, and then lifespan, just the lifespan, we can just look at that, start to reduce to like 10,000 years, and then the vice increase, and it's not like 10,000 years, like it's a continuum. It's not like 10,000. You went from 100 to 10. No, it's like maybe it was 100,000, and it became 500,000, and then it reduced to 10,000, and then in Dwapara Yoga, the people, they were living thousands of years old. So we can imagine their health and their also their intellectual facility was very different. There was no need for writing material. because their intelligence and memory was so sharp that they only needed to hear something once and they will remember. And then, but then in Dwapara Yoga, there is already so much more vice. He says there is 4 pillars of religion. So each of the yuga, they decrease to the last yuga. There's only 1/4 of dharmic, of origin, of virtue, and the rest is all vice. So we are 3/4 vice and one-fourth of virtue. So for sure, Arjuna will be different. His physical strength, his bodily features, his mental capability. We can see in Krishna's pastimes, they are still knowing the art of mantras and having so much clarity and focus that they can send Brahmastra, weapons through the exercise of their brain and focus. And we can see, like, just in my lifetimes, with arrival of internet and all smartphone and all that, the decrease of people's memory, the decrease of people's, not because they have Alzheimer, the young people now, they don't have the same capability that the young people of my generation, way less, and it's happening so quickly. And I know my mom's generation, if I hear from her childhood what they were capable of learning, their virtue, the way they were behaving, and their health too was so much better than the children now, and better than when I was a child. So even in our little, we have a very small experience, we can see the decrease. And then same thing for Mother Earth. Mother Earth in Satya Yuga, she was profitably, abundantly providing. And in fact, we don't hear in Satya Yoga like people working very hard, because in Satya Yoga, they were meditating. that's the Yoga Dharma. The Yoga Dharma for Satya Yoga is meditation, sitting and meditating for thousands of years. So yeah, because there was abundance and the climate is perfect, and abundance of food and abundance of water, and people can live from Earth. There are still people who live from Earth, in certain region of the Earth. And then that decline. And then Mother Earth, the more vice there is, as virtue diminish more and more, then Mother Earth stop like producing. Even in the time of Prithu Maharaj, before Prithu came, there was King Vena, and the earth stopped producing just during the reign of one king that was very demonic, and the earth kind of withdrew. And then there was all pastime with Prithu Maharaj who milked the earth, and the earth during the reign of Prithu Maharaj started to produce again, and lushness of nature came back. So yes, right now, yeah, it's predicted in the Bhagavatam. It has nothing to do with it's cause and effect. It's what the chicken was the eggs. As our human being acting the way they act, based on their desire, and then there is reaction, and some of the reaction is definitely that Mother Earth is withdrawing. And then the climate are more and more, like the reaction from nature are more and more severe. Like the other day I was reading about Spain. Spain really is producing practically all the food for Europe. It's well known. It's like, and miles and miles, and I remember the last time my mom visited Spain, she was shocked. It was miles and miles and miles after miles of greenhouses, like greenhouses. And we know greenhouses really damage the ozone layer of Earth and, produce climate change. Anyway, so in the name of producing more food, like most of material solution to material problem create more problem. So in the name of producing more food, what's happening is more and more Spain is becoming a desert. In fact, there is place in Spain that it looks like the Sahara's desert. It's all cracked. There is nothing growing. And even if it was raining, everything will, be smashed, but nothing will grow. And Spain is becoming a desert. A big part of Spain is becoming a desert. Plus now there is fire everywhere in Spain. Of course, Americans think they are okay, but so the art of the food production of Europe right now is dying. And that food production from the hot house in Spain wasn't that great of a food production anyway, because what is produced in greenhouse is, or hot house is not that nutritious. So yes, we have less nutriment. Our vegetables don't nourish us. And also, I was when Ladini was coming. She's not here today, but when Ladini was coming regularly to America, we had the same feeling. I have a feeling that when I drink water here, it never quenched my thirst. And she was saying the same. She was saying, because Europe is a little, we are more west, so there's more sinful activity in America, and so there's sinful activity everywhere. But still, there is some distinction. And in Europe, the water is so much better than in America. Already we can see that. And I'm sure it's not all over America, but here, the water is really poor, very poor nutritious quality. The food is very poor nutritious quality. So naturally, the body of human beings are shrinking. They are becoming smaller, they are becoming more fragile. And then, of course, there is all the Western medicine. So yeah, it's karmic. I heard on Wednesday, I was speaking with an Indian woman, and she was telling me about her Ayurvedic doctor. And the Ayurvedic doctor says the whole world is right now in Vata imbalance. So not something individual, but the old world, because everything is about stress, everything is about anxiety, everything is about pressure, everything is about moving faster, going further, doing more. And because of that, the whole world. So that creates also disease and problems and psychiatric imbalance. So that's some of my responses. And because Kali Yoga is advancing and is advancing very quickly. And at the end of Kali Yoga, everything is going to be finished, like really, because it's, my stepmother, the last time I went to Europe, I went to visit my stepmother, and she was listening to one of those French speculators. In French, they are really good at speculating. Like in French, everyone is a philosopher. It's kind of part of the culture. Like it's shocking for me in America to see how little philosopher I found. It's really rare to meet a philosopher. And it's shocking for me because where I'm coming from, everyone is a philosopher. Even a bum in the street is a philosopher. Going to a bar means sitting and philosophizing and nothing else. Anyways, that's my memory. And, I don't know if it's still like that. And what I wanted to say, yes, so my stepmom, because she's French, and she is listening to one of those philosophers, and she was really telling me with a lot of gravity, Earth doesn't need human beings. Earth will be very fine, and in fact would do so much better without human being. And, she was so convinced, and there was no space for conversation. So I kind of noticed that. I said, wow, that's a very interesting. And I could see how it could make sense. Like without human beings, there would no factory, no pollution, and every animals will balance themselves out. There will be no overproduction of chicken or cow or pigs. That everything will balance itself out. And yeah, probably Earth could be a paradise without human being. But then what will be the purpose? And at that time, my stepmother, I tried to go there, and she said, "Why do you need a purpose?" Then that was a little closed down of conversation. And I know that right now she's in a phase where her mom passed away. Her mom was a devout Catholic, chanting the rosary every day. And she's so turned off by anything that have to do with religion or God. And it's interesting because that's not how I remembered her. Like I remember her being quite spiritual, but now she's really leaning toward atheism, which is many, France is a secular atheist kind of country. So that's Vidura. Vidura is starting there because there is no point starting anywhere else. We need to understand Purusha. Purusha means person, and Purusha also can mean controller. And so we are all controller. We have some control, but we can just take a look at, do we know, can I control what will happen tomorrow? And there is none of the mangum here today. But anyway, the mangum have been lately, I've been going through a lot, and many in the community have been supporting them. One after another, things happen in their life. Like, Rohini got sick, and then her back got really off. She couldn't do anything. And the kids got a virus that for 5 days they had high fever. And then in the middle of all that, Parampara cut his finger. Okay, so that's just one thing after another. And could they have predicted that? Could they have controlled, like, yes, in the next 2 weeks, here we are going to create all that? No. We have some, we are Purushas, we are person, Purusha, we have some control. But even like something that's very beautiful, I heard someone say, could we predict, could we know the day we got in contact with Krishna consciousness? Could we have seen in our life, one day I'm going to give my life to chant 2 hours a day this mantra? Could we can look at the time of our death, our birth. Like, did we plan, in 1962, in January 18 of 1962, I'm going to take birth in such and such family, in such and such country, at such a time? No. So we have very little control, very little control. We don't even control the way we digest food. Tomorrow we can be paralyzed on the ground, not being able to even blink our eyelids. So that's what we need to understand. And there is understanding the Purusha avatar, understanding the creation, help us understand that we are not Purusha. Clearly, because some people, they kind of go into like, well, Krishna, I'm going to do the same thing that Krishna does. I'm going to enjoy with many women. I'm going to, think I am God and all that. But by really learning about the Purushas, we can see how Krishna is nothing than an ordinary Purusha, person. He's a supreme person. And I love that word Purusha, that means person. He's a supreme Purusha. Is Adi Govindam, Adi Purusham, is Adi Purush. And by looking at the Purusha avatar, which are at the beginning of the cosmic manifestation, then we get to come to that position of like, Krishna is really big. He's so big that he's so big, but he lay on the causal ocean. And when he lay on the causal ocean, when he breathes in all the universes. So it's not simply breathing Earth. He breathes, it's not even that he breathes our universe with all the upper and lower planetary system. He breathes all the universes into his pores and his mouth, in Qigong, we learn universal breathing. And it's really nice because every time I do the universal breathing, I think of the Mahavishnu. So like, like the goal of life is to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So any activities that help us remember Krishna in this different form and emanation, incarnation, thinking of Mahavishnu. So in Qigong, we do a breathing, and the breathing is we breathe in, and as we breathe in, we draw all the energy of the universe. And as we breathe out what's not necessary. And that's interesting too, because the Mahapurusha, he breathes the universe in. And when he breathes out all what's not wanted in the spiritual world. That's what he does. It's just like everything that doesn't belong to the spiritual world, everything that has contamination, that doesn't belong to the spiritual world, is breathed out. So that's an exercise. We breathe in the universal energy, which, of course, the Mahapurusha is universal energy all around us. And the Garbhodakasha Vishnu with the Purusha in one universe. We have one Garbhodakasha Vishnu is also pervading. It makes the planet float. So that energy is also available for us. So we can, the chi, Chaitanya, we absorb it, and we can absorb it through every cell of our pores and in our mouth. And then when we breathe out everything that's in surplus that doesn't belong in the body, that makes disease in the body, that makes that the body is not balanced, that makes that there is blocks in the body. So that's what we breathe out in Qigong. So the Mahapurush, that's what he does. He breathes in all the universe and the universal energy. Of course, it's his own energy. And he breathes out everything that's unwanted. And that's going to be transformed. And that's why, like, spiritual life is so much about transformation. It's not like even Bhagavatam class, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, it's not about receiving more and more information. It's not about hearing about the Purusha avatar. It's not about information. It's about transformation. How to really transform our vision, like Anandini was sharing, like really transform our vision, that we don't let ourselves being brainwashed by, global warming. Yeah, it's global warming. It's obvious in Florida. It's 14 degrees this morning, Anandini. It's cold in Florida. I never seen that cold in May. It's cold. I had jacket, and it's 14 degrees for those who are speaking in Fahrenheit. This morning it was like in the low 60 and even high 50. End of May, just like I don't remember that before. So yes, there is changing happening, more and more changes, and let that transform us to understand that the Srimad Bhagavatam, all the predictions in the Srimad Bhagavatam are coming true, that Kali Yuga is advancing, that the food is not going to give us any nutriment, that there will be less and less water, less and less fresh air to breathe. And that's, let's get prepared. And that the boon of Kali Yuga. What is the boon of Kali Yuga? The boon of Kali Yuga is that simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, we get the result of all meditation, sacrifice, austerity, charity, everything that's not possible for us to do anymore. Just in Kali Yuga, just by chanting the holy name of the Lord, we can get the same benefit than the hard work that people were doing in other ages. So that's our opportunity. Our opportunity is to get that transformation by being present, by showing up with eagerness. Of course, we can chant like Yogeshwar Prabhu was speaking about last Friday. about we can chant blah blah blah, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, ya ya Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Yari, and there will be effect. There will be effect. It's good. It's good. And then we can chant with, like dedication, commitment. I'm going to chant certain number of rounds every day, and I'm committed. No matter what, I'm chanting them. That's my priority, and that's even better. And then the best is to chant with attention, and at least like to put effort toward attention. If we chant with attention or not, this is a gift from the Holy Name. The mantra is also Purusha. It's also a person, and that person can decide when do I give myself to the chanter. It's a Purusha. So it's like, when do I give myself to the chanter? So if we chant with attention or not, in a sense, it's not fully us to decide. But what we can decide is to put full attention and full effort. Full effort is full victory. Full effort is full victory. So to put effort, that as soon as I noticed that my mind is gone somewhere, I don't spend time criticizing, judging my mind, judging myself. There's no point doing that. It's just more Maya. I'm bringing back to the sound vibration. Focus on the sound vibration. Prabhupada is so clear. Chant and through the upper lips and lower lips, and focus on the sound vibration. No planning committee, nothing else going on, just the chanting. And in fact, I want to read what we read this morning because I found it. The more one goes on chanting, the more the darkness of many lives is dissipated. The darkness of many lives is dissipated. Cheto darpana marjanam. By chanting, one can clean the dust from the mirror of his mind and perceive things very distinctly. Thus one will know what he is, what God is, what this world is, what our relationship with God in this world is, and how to live in this world, and what our next life is. Is that beautiful? By chanting Hare Krishna, we know those things. What he is, what God is, what this world is, what our relationship with God in this world is, and how to live in this world, and what our next life is. Oh, yes, so that's the benefit of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So the sentence in the purport I was the most intrigued of is, and I thought about it and I tried to research, but I didn't find anything. So I'm going to share anyway. I lost my glasses. I lost my glasses. Anyway, there was a sentence. Let's see if I can read without glasses. My eyesight is improving. Everything is improving in my body. Everything. Just by the breathing. Mahavishnu's energy and Garbhodakashayi Vishnu energy. And Kshirodakashayi Vishnu energy too. The universal energy. Hare Krishna. Anyway, so I will read without glasses, even though it's a small book. I think I can do it. So first I'm going to go to a point that Prabhupada making a purport to make sure, the short purport. So I want to cover everything. So Viduha, he just had heard from Uddhava. He just had heard that the Lord had departed. And for a devotee is unbearable. It's an unbearable topic. In fact, if we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we are not finding much about Krishna's departure because it's so unbearable for a devotee to speak about Krishna's departure. Same thing with Ramayana. There's nothing about Ram's departure because for the devotee, he cannot even speak about it. It's like a mother who had a departed child. So difficult to speak about it. And and if we can't speak about it, then it's because our heart is not melted yet. It's because we have a stone heart. We are not crying yet when we chant Hare Krishna. And so Vidura, he just heard, he's shocked, he's overwhelmed, like in the same way that Uddhava was overwhelmed when he met Vidura, and Vidura started to ask questions. Like Uddhava couldn't answer first. He was like stunned, like so overwhelmed with so much emotion, remembering the Lord, remembering that he's not here anymore. So Vidura, he wasn't ready to really hear about the pastime of the Lord. He wasn't really ready to hear about the Lord directly, as Srila Prabhupada said. He was overwhelmed. So he wanted to start with a topic like that of the creation and maintenance of the universe, because that's, you know, that's still Krishna's, because Krishna is Adipurusha, is at the origin of all the Purushas, is origin of the material world, is through Parasha Shakti, I don't remember. But anyway, through his emanation and energy, Shakti, here in this verse, he says Shakti, and he created and maintained the world, the entire cosmic manifestation. So by starting there, he's still speaking about Krishna. And that's really important to understand that, hearing about the creation. In fact, a devotee is ecstatic to hear about anything about Krishna. It's like the wife of the president. Of course, she has that very intimate time with her husband. And, you know, they have their own pastimes, they have their own relationships, their own intimacy. Still, if when her husband is away, she hears about, oh, your husband really, he came when there was a hurricane and he was so wonderful the way he dealt with the governor of the state. Or if she hears about, oh, your husband had such a nice meeting with the minister, she's still eager to hear. She's not saying, oh, I don't want to hear about those pastimes. No, she wants to hear anything she can hear about her husband. She misses him. She just like anything. So the devotee is like that. The devotee doesn't sort out, oh, I'm going to hear only that. I'm going to hear only the personal aspect. No, the devotee even loves to speak about the pervertedness of Krishna. In fact, most of the prayers of the devotee who meet Krishna face to face, that's where they start. If you notice the prayers of the devotee when they meet Krishna face to face, they say, you're all pervading, you're everywhere. You're the source of all energies. They start glorifying the impersonal part of Krishna. And I was always surprised by that. And it shows that the devotee of the Lord, the pure devotees of the Lord, they love every aspect, every single aspect, including, you know, the part of that have to do with us, with the reject, the reject from the spiritual world. That's what this material cosmic manifestation. And at the same time, it's a pastime. It's part of pastime for Krishna. So Krishna have enjoyment there. Krishna is doing everything out of enjoyment. Another point I wanted to make before I go to the last point is Purusha. What's the difference between us Purushas, persons, small controller, and the Supreme Purusha, Adipurusha, Supreme Purush? And one difference we can look at is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya kind of goes there, and I really like that definition, is that there is those who are sheltered and there is those who are sheltering. So every Vishnu Tattva, every expansion of the Lord is sheltering. And the emanation of Krishna that are not, that Tatastha Shakti, the marginal energy of the Lord, and Jiva soul that are, you know, can go either way. They are sheltered. They are sheltered. Even when a pure devotee is liberated completely, they are still sheltered by the Lord. So that's one distinction we can make to understand Vishnu Tattva, to understand all the expansion of Krishna. What makes the difference between the expansion of Krishna and an expansion of Krishna that, that does the Shaktis, is that there is a sheltering and the sheltered. And we are all sheltered, and he's sheltering as a Mahapurush, he is sheltering as a Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, he is sheltering as a Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. We can fully take shelter of the sheltering Kshirodakashayi Vishnu who live inside our heart. He's right there with us. As a meditation that I like to do is a meditation on that analogy that's given to us. Like inside our heart, there is two birds. It's like two birds. And there is one enjoying bird, us. And there is the witnessing bird is a super soul, Paramatma, Holy Spirit. And then that's meditation I like to think of me as a soul, as a little bird, turning to the super soul and smiling in gratitude, and just like be in that meditation. It feels so good. It feels such a sheltering place because Kshirodakashayi Vishnu is a Vishnu Tattva, is sheltering, and we can take full shelter of that form of Krishna inside our heart. So the part that I was the most curious about when I read the purport was the activity of the Purusha incarnation are but an extension of the activities of the Lord. So the activities of the Lord, what does the Lord do? What Krishna does? He enjoys in Goloka Vrindavan with his coward boyfriend and the gopis. That's what he does all the time. That's what he does all the time. That doesn't stop. It's eternal pastime. It's where, like the Lord is fully manifested in his original form, Govinda. And hearing that, it allows, okay, well, so an expansion, so the pastime of the Purusha's avatar are about an extension of the activities of the Lord. They are an extension of those activities of the Lord. So it's I'm not sure like the detail of it, and I don't feel a need to have details about it. However, I really love to see that the creation is not a burden. As Srila Prabhupada describes sometimes, like some people think of Atlas. Atlas is carrying the earth, that it's so heavy. But the creation is not. It's an extension of the activities of the Lord. It's a pastime of the Lord. It's not. It's just like, it's like we speak about lemonades, making lemonade with lemons. So I think about it like that. It's like, okay, there is some living entities, spirit souls who want to enjoy separately, who want to be purushas, who want to enjoy separately. Okay, let me have fun with that. And then he expands himself, and he's always expanded in so many forms in the spiritual world. But then for some of those forms, to the Chaturvyuha, Narayan Chaturvyuha, and Shankarshan, and Shankarshan being Mahavishnu, then to those different forms, he goes to enjoy and manifests the universes, the material universes, the cosmic manifestation, and he manifests within a universe all the planets where there is inhabitants. There is no void in the universe. My Qigong teacher, he always said, go into the nothingness, go into the void. I'm just like, where is that? There is no emptiness in the universe. There is living entity everywhere. So to respond to your question, as a child, you can say the little Annette, you can tell her, there is living entities everywhere in Krishna's creation, because the purpose of creation is those living entities. The purpose of creation is all those living entities that have chosen to separate themselves from the Lord, wanted to have their own, God project, and who separate themselves from the Lord, So everywhere there is living entities. In the air, there is living entity. In fire, more and more scientists find that. In water, there is living entities. Everywhere, in all the 5 gross elements, there is living entities. In all planetary systems, upper planetary system, lower planetary system. On the sun, there is a sun god, there is a moon god. They are more elevated than we are. That's, like the crest of creation is the white man, and the crest of the entire universe is made for Earth. And in a sense, it's true. It's true that the focus is Earth because the human form on the middle planetary system is the most conducive for self-realization. So in a sense, there is a focus there. But the crest of creation, when it comes to abilities and potencies and intelligence, it's not a white man. It's not the American either. Whoa, what do I risk here? Yeah, it's like there is people who are way more advanced with greater intelligence, greater beauty, greater strength, greater ability for renunciation, greater wealth, abundance in other planetary systems. And so that's all coming out of Garbhodakasha Vishnu through the agency of Lord Brahma. Hare Krishna, thank you for listening. And I'm eager to hear about if there is any question left about what's that all about. There is always question about what's all that about. And that's wonderful, that's fantastic. And that's what we are supposed to do, to ask what's that all about. And when we hear something through the news, oh, what's that? What's the coronavirus, like from Krishna's perspective, or Garbhodakasha Vishnu's perspective? What is vaccination? What is the new things? The new thing in America, where there is more and more tension and diversion and polarity, is a transgender thing. It's like just a new topic. What is that? I thought about it and I'm so fascinated by it. In fact, I like to make it. If I was more brave and a better writer, I will make a video about it. I have so many insights that's, and I'm not saying it's the absolute truth, but I have a lot of insight that step out of the black and white of what people are seeing from a broader perspective, seeing from Krishna's perspective, looking at it from Mahavishnu's perspective, Garbhodakasha Vishnu's perspective, looking at it from Kshirodakasha Vishnu's perspective. Hare Krishna, thank you. Any comment, question? I'm going to read the verse before, but I still don't have my glasses, huh? No idea where they went. Okay, I will try. Going to be a little hard. Savishvajanma stiti samyamarte krita vatara pragrita shakti chakara karmanyati purushani shani yani shvara kirtaya tani mayam. Kindly, I love that too. Kindly chant all those superhuman transcendental activities of the Supreme Controller, the personality of Godhead, who accepting incarnations, fully equipped with all potency for the full manifestation and maintenance of the cosmic creation. Hare Krishna. Okay, Kim have a question, and she's going inside. While Kim is transiting, is there any other comment, question? About anything in a verse, purport, anything about creation? Any question about creation? About everything around us? We should have questions. We should have so many questions all the time. We should question ourselves all the time. Otherwise, we are going to numb ourselves again.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Kim.
I didn't get inside, so we'll hope for the best if it was taking so long. Yeah, one question that's always bothered me, I don't think there's an answer, but one thing, even as a Christian, it bothers me now, is like, if we're part and parcel of Krishna, we're part of Krishna, and the Bible would say created in God's image, I don't know, but definitely part of Krishna. I don't understand why there's a propensity for such badness. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, because he's all good is what I was understanding. And I don't get the free will concept, because God has free will and he can do whatever he wants. And our impression is that he does all good and he doesn't do bad or evil, wicked or selfish or, all these things, So I've never understood why, as part of God in his image, people wanted to do really bad things. It doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you very much, Kim, for your question. And you said, I don't think there is an answer. And there's a chapter on the Srimad Bhagavatam that says, Srimad Bhagavatam is answer to all questions. It's a chapter in Canto 2.
10th chapter, Canto 2.
10th chapter, Canto 2. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. So all questions can be answered. I'm not saying they can all be answered by me, but by Srimad Bhagavatam. So maybe I encourage you to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, because you will find your response there. But I can try to, put a few things together. So badness, Krishna is not bad. Well, that's not true. That's really not true. Krishna cheats, Krishna steal, Krishna torture, Krishna kill, Krishna, he do it all. He does it all.
He's a coward.
He's a coward. He's a coward. He does it all. Krishna does it all. So to say there's no badness, well, that's true. There is no badness, because bad and good is from it's in a world of duality. So we live in a world of duality, bad and good. But from Krishna's perspective, there is no duality. At the same time, the things that from our perspective we consider bad, Krishna does it all. He does it all. He pinched babies for them to cry. He pinched babies for them to cry. He enticed women who are already married to come in the wood and enjoy with him. He steals butter. He goes and sometimes he entices his friends or his devotees to steal for him and watch them being chastised instead of him. That's Krishna. So, that's really important to get that, and to get that the material energy and our behavior are a perverted reflection of the original, reality, perverted reflection of the original reality. So, yeah, and of course, so that's Krishna, and that's all absolute. It's all pastime, and it's all for his enjoyment and our enjoyment too. There is so much in Krishna book and Chaitanya Charitamrita that are very inconceivable, like Lord Chaitanya leaving his wife, and his wife being so broken-hearted. And she's young, she's like 16 by the time he left her, no children, and she was broken-hearted, and she lived for a long time. I think she was 60-year-old or something like that. And she was in separation from Lord Chaitanya. And also in a Vaikuntha planet, then that's where you go. In a Vaikuntha planet, on that level, everything is good. Like the Vishnu, like we don't hear about Vishnu so much doing things like that. A little bit. At one point he stole the children of a Brahman because he wanted to see Krishna. So there is something like that, but not much. So on the Vaikuntha planet, there is like absolute, everything is good. everybody worship Krishna. And then when the human being, first, the soul fall not necessarily a human being. They can fall down in the material world, as Lord Brahma. And in fact, part of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a place where it says we all come down as Brahma. So we don't come down first as murderer. We don't come first as cheater, liar. We don't come down as torturer. We come down as Lord Brahma. And as I said, in Satya Yuga, then all virtue are there. So in Satya Yuga, the beginning of the 4 yugas, and at the beginning of creation, the beginning of the day of Brahma, the beginning of the life of Brahma, start with Satya Yuga. It's all Satya Yuga. Then the people there in Satya Yuga, they are not contaminated with vice. They are quite clean. They can meditate. They have long lifespan. They are healthy. They are the kind of people you will expect emanate from God completely. And however, because there is a grain inside their heart, they want to enjoy separated from God. A grain, like a small tinge of something that is not spiritual, that doesn't belong to the spiritual world. That small grain engender an action or a thought, because in Kali Yoga, our thoughts don't count. Poof. Let's be happy for that. But in other yoga, thoughts do count in and have reaction. In Kali Yoga, there is no reaction to our thoughts. Even if I think of killing someone, there is no reaction. But if I kill someone, there is a reaction. But in other yogas, thinking of killing someone that didn't deserve to be killed, there is a reaction. So in those yogas, then that desire, that tinge, like that drop, that tiny infinitesimal part of the soul that want to enjoy separated from Krishna, kind of engender more separation. And that more separation creates more activities that are separated from God, that are not in goodness, that are becoming to be tinged with some other modes than the mode of goodness, like passion and ignorance. And it doesn't happen overnight, like the length of the yugas. I have it here. Satya Yuga is, let's say, almost 2 million years. So 2 million years, and people in Satya Yuga, they live 100,000 years. So that's many generations. But as the generation goes, more and more sinful activities are performed. And the definition of sinful activity is something that separates me from God. And those sinful activities kind of create a downward spiral, one after another, through those, millions of years. They increase, and it's more, like manifested more and more in towards vice. And then vice enter at the end of Satya Yuga. So you're correct. During Satya Yuga, which is a longer yuga, that's a young. Why is because everything is exponential. So it's a longer one because that's only a very small seed of sin. There's a seed of sin, but very, very tiny, infinitesimal, and it takes a long time to grow. And then in Treta Yoga, then vice, start to come in, and I think austerity. Which one is lost first? Yeah. Anyway, there is vice, and one like more and more people, and then the Treta Yoga is starting to be shorter, and it's 1 million years. So 1 million years of Treta Yoga, this is already, vice is already there, but it's very small. And no, there's no like gross violence like we experienced right now. No, there is no gross like yeah, it has nothing to do with what we experience right now. There is a lot of virtue, a lot, 45, three-fourths of the behavior is virtuous, and there is 1/4 that's vice, and that's in Treta Yoga. So in a sense, there is sin by more separation from God, further away from God, and we are not yet there, and already we are like 3 million years into the beginning of the cycle of yoga. And then the Dwapara Yoga is 864,000 years, and it's already shorter. Why? Because that's exponential. You know, one vice leading to the next, to the next, to the next, in full activity, increasing like that. And in Dwapara Yoga, then you have half and half. Half is vice, and half is virtue. So the people are way more vice already, and they are still very virtuous and cultured. And we can see in a Mahabharata so much culture, so much like people. There is no crime like there is now, or no constant like cruel and hypocrisy. That's the definition of the yoga we are in now, Kali Yoga, where it's an age of cruel and hypocrisy. So again, we are already almost 4 million years into the beginning of the cycle of yoga. So the soul, they're just like more and more degraded. Human beings are more and more degraded, and more vice. And in Kali Yoga, there is 3/4 of vice, and there is 1/4 of virtue. So of course, there is a lot of things that are really going on. And all of them, they are still coming from God, but they are perverted. Like men who want to have many women and, you know, go and cheat on their wife or you know, vice versa. Well, that does exist in the spiritual world, but here is perverted. It's done, and it's degrading. It's degrading, because what Krishna does, we are not supposed to do, unless it's what he tells us to do. Surrender unto him, serve him, chant Hare Krishna, perform devotional service. So that's some responses. And yes, the free will is part of that. We have free will, and we use those free will from the start. Krishna gave us free will, and that's how we fall. My Qigong teacher, he said, I'm sorry, I speak a lot about my Qigong teacher, but it's just funny for me, because he said things I really like he said, we are in the universe, and that's true. I am in the universe as a spirit soul, and the universe is in my body. It's still true. Like the 5 elements and the 4 gross elements, they are in my body. And the universe and I combine together. It's still true. Like as a spiritual, I combine with those 5 elements and then it's really nice. It's a nice meditation. Every time he says that, I really remember I'm a soul and I can experience it. But then he said, go back to the beginning of creation, the beginning of the universe. And it's so peaceful there. And each time he says that, I feel dread. I don't feel peace. I feel dread, like, oh, what I have done, Krishna, please forgive me. I didn't want to do that. I don't want to fall. I don't want to fall and continue to fall in that downward spiral. So that's it. Thank you, Kim.
Can I ask one more thing? On the
First, what's happening for you with the response I gave you?
Well, some of it sends me into a rabbit hole, but one question that I'd find somewhat helpful is, okay, so when we decide to leave Krishna with that one little seed of wanting to be separate, and we go to the higher spiritual material worlds, right? Do a lot of people, or maybe even the majority of people, learn their lesson from that and go back at that point? Is that where the majority of people go back, and not so many of us going into this other downward spiral that goes on and on?
Like the people, they are not people, they are soul pushas, jiva, souls. So the soul fall, and there is always a possibility of going back. what's the percentage of those who go back before coming all down to Kali Yoga? Well, the illusion, Maya illusion, is very strong. And as soon as we want to enjoy separated from Krishna, Maya is convincing us that we can, until we are really ready to say, I don't want that anymore. So it's very difficult for the soul to come back, because the soul is so much in illusion, and the covering of the soul is so much in illusion that I'm going to enjoy. And at the same time, the yugas, in every yuga there is a yuga dharma, and so in Satya Yoga there is no vice, and like we see the yuga dharma as meditation, and so they perform meditation, but where will they end up with meditation? In the yuga, when are they going to end up in a higher planetary system or lower, or still on Earth? I don't know the percentage. Maybe, dear Govinda, you have something you want to say about that? I have nothing that come to my mind.
I don't know percentage, but you made the point, and Prabhupada writes that the living entity started as Brahma. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay. The living entity started as Brahma. So there's lots of hands up there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that means all living entities, but Brahma means like it wasn't a fall down necessarily, because like Brahma is like a Shakti avatar that's eager to serve Krishna by managing the universe. But then there's some connection with the material energy. So there, from the position of Brahma, if we read, there's different types of Brahma.
Yeah.
The Brahman in our universe is pure devotee. But some Brahmanas, all Brahmanas have bhakti, but some Brahmanas have bhakti with jnana, some Brahmanas have bhakti with karma. There's different types of, so they're from the planet of Brahma and his associates. My understanding is some just get pure devotion to Krishna, go back to Goloka Vrindavan, but some Brahmanas might from there go to maybe some demigod, lower demigod type life.
Mm-hmm.
So it is described in that topmost heavenly plane of Brahma, which is sometimes described as Satyalok. It's described practically, it's completely spiritual, but that's like a juncture for many, and some can just stay there, some come down to demigod life, and then from there it can go into the pit after another 100 lifetimes. Some go back to Vaikuntha. So I just wanted to share that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah. So, the fall happen. It's not like we want to come to the material world, I want to say. The fall happen when we have a grain of sand of something that want to enjoy separated from Krishna. Poof. As soon as we think like that, poof, like we down. And so I think from anywhere there is no impediment for bhakti. So from anywhere in a world, from wherever we are at, we can go back to Godhead. Percentage, I don't know. It doesn't say the percentage, but anywhere. Sometimes even Brahma is.
Thank you, Malini, for your
Krishna
answers,
is
and dear Govinda.
If there is no qualified Brahma, you have Krishna even, who could be Brahma. Thank you, Kim. And the answer to all questions are by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. And my sense is that when I approach the Srimad Bhagavatam and I have a burning question, I'm usually, as I'm reading it, that burning question gets satiated and transformed or responded to. It's my experience. Yes. Hare Krishna. Bhakti Oasis. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I'm really loving the mood of your class this morning, how we are all allowed to get curious and ask questions with abandon and really be just childlike in nature. I appreciate that so much, the mood of your class this morning. So I live with a little person. I live with a 3-year-old, and she has a lot of questions. And she's asked me more than any other question. She really wants to know why she has a belly button. This is like burning in her mind. And I keep answering her with, well, you were in my belly and you were attached to me, and that's how I nourished you. And then I have been racking my brain. So I've tried to link it up to Krishna. And the only thing that I can think of is that he birthed Brahma from his navel with the lotus flower. But I've not read or seen or heard of anyone saying that that is appropriate or like a way of linking like why we have belly buttons. And then I know she's going to ask me if Krishna has a belly button and why he has a belly button. I know it's coming. So I thought, as a fellow Bhakti Yogi Mataji, that you might have some direction that you could point me in, because the day is coming where she's going to want to know about Krishna's belly button, why he has a belly button, since she's, you know, like he's like her best friend and we talk about him every day. So, Hare Krishna, that's my question. I know it's a little different than the usual morning classes.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing. 3-year-olds are fascinating, and children are fascinating. You know, with whatever my aging, the maturity of me, like being in the grandmother's mood, what's the most important to me is to encourage children to continue to ask questions. And sometimes being in a question is something that I found also is very conducive for children to stay in a question and not necessarily receiving answer. So that's one thing I want to say, because even in spiritual life, it's not about information. It's about being in a question and receive transformation. So, you know, like children kind of feel like they demand an answer, but really to cultivate their spirit of inquiry is probably what's most conducive for their life and for their spiritual life. So we like taking the pressure off the shoulder of the parents that I need to know the answer, because it's not about question and answer. It's more about being in a question and being in a question together to support inquiry, to keep that spirit that's so beautiful in children. And when children are like coming to an adult, and adult gives the answer, and then kind of it can be lost because of that. So that's one thing I want to say. And then I love where you go, because the first created being is Brahma. He is the first created being, and he comes from the lotus navel, from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So that means there is a navel in Krishna, because Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is an expansion of Krishna. And then the first, you know, there is a connection. We all have a belly button, and the first created being comes from a belly button. And that's such a beautiful story to give her, not as an answer per se. You know, like we don't need to have the answer, but we can have a discussion. We have a conversation. We have like, what do you think? We have so many things. And why, yes, that's very interesting. But in fact, Lord Brahma, you know, Lord Brahma, he was born from the navel of Lord Vishnu, who is an emanation of Krishna. Is that wonderful? Is that amazing? And for maybe to stay in the spirit of discovery too, to not feel the pressure that I need to do the answer, to be, because, you know, there is probably not really much responses. There's a biology, like, okay, why is there rain to nourish the flower and the grass? It's a question. Well, because Krishna created that's the way he created. You know, if I'm an artist and I paint a beautiful picture, well, you can ask me why and that. It's just because I like the yellow to be next to the green. There's not necessarily a response or answer to why I painted the way I painted. So also to be in that poetry of Krishna, why there is never. Krishna liked it, that there is never. That's also a very, very valid response, and it makes it Krishna being personal and creative and like an artist, enjoying his pastimes. Oh, I'm going to make all being with belly button. I don't know if all being have a belly button. I don't know if roaches have a belly button. Probably not. They don't have an umbilical cord. But anyway, like that. So it's just to have fun in a spirit of inquiry and discovery, and to cultivate that Atato Brahma Vigyasa. And that's not something that ever stops. Transformation comes when we stop wanting information. So if we don't give information, then we can be in the process of transformation. How is that?
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. And Anandidi, I saw your veteran, response also. Everybody, thank you so much for your support. It takes a village. I appreciate parenting from a Bhakti yoga perspective. This is invaluable. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, ask her what she thinks. What do you think? What do you think? Why we have a belly button? Yeah, for sure. She will probably have very deep philosophical input. Hare Krishna. Damayanti, probably you have your hands up.
Yes, thank you. When you had shared today, it was a new concept that I hadn't heard of. Although now I started to remember it when you were talking about a quarter vice, 50% vice in the next yuga. Now we're in a yuga where there's 3/4 vice and 1/4 virtue. I started to remember that, but is that in the atmosphere in general in the yuga, or is that even like within each individual?
My understanding is both. It's in the atmosphere, and it's like truthfulness is the last leg of religion. So that's what it is. That's that the virtue that's left is truthfulness. So it's not much. And then those who are lost is cleanliness. Yeah. And then it doesn't mean that there's no human beings that are clean on the level of cleanliness of Vaishnav cleanliness. Suchi, being suchi, like eating suchi, cleaning, cooking suchi, living suchi, taking care of the body suchi, like cleanliness, cleanliness outside, cleanliness. It doesn't mean, but most of us we are challenged to even understand what cleanliness means, and so yes, it's in me that I'm challenged, and it's in the world. The world is so dirty. It's such a dirty place right now. And then austerity is lost. Well, yeah, I do coaching every day. I deal with that. Austerity is not a forte of people in Kali Yoga. And it's amazing if someone can get up at 4:30 in the morning. Amazing if someone can chant 16 rounds. Amazing if someone can control their tongue and eat only Krishna Prashadam. So austerity in general is not a virtue in this age. As like everything is about appeal, everything is about avoiding pain, which is opposite of austerity, avoiding pain. So everything in society is about avoiding pain, and naturally, individually is there too. So cleanliness, austerity, compassion, compassion, mercy is one leg also, one part of the virtues that have disappeared. And so, the general is no compassion, killing animals. And then for each of us, we can see, okay, we are making progress towards Satya Yuga in a sense by becoming, by following Srila Prabhupada with not under the influence of the three modes of material nature, not under the influence of Kali Yoga. We also less and less are under the influence of Kali Yoga, but individually we may still feel challenged. The part of us that's not surrendered to Srila Prabhupada is challenged, let's say. And even with compassion, maybe we don't eat meat, but then, how compassionate are we to other living entities, to other people, to people in our family, to people we know closely, to insects, roaches, ants. My house is full of friends. I don't have any idea why, just the temple room. I'm thinking because of flower. But like, yeah, what do I do? What do I do? I want to be compassionate. So it's so hard to be compassionate. And even like we breathe all the time, we kill and we kill all the time. So being compassionate is very difficult, and to have a truly compassionate heart. If we really had a truly compassionate heart, we should be ready to cross the Atlantic Ocean to come and save, the fallen soul from, hellish condition. So compassion is that love. So it's globally and it's individually. And even the last leg of religion is truthfulness. It's the last one we have, really, because to advance spiritually we need to be truthful. Srinvatam Swagata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantasto Yabhajani Vidunoti Suitsatam. Krishna, cleans the heart from the truthful devotee. So truthfulness, if we are true with ourselves, like, oh, I'm not attentive when I chant. Oh, I'm not clean. Oh, I'm really struggling with reading every day. Truthfulness is the last step of religion. So that's the one virtue that is going to help us spiritually the most. The truth will set you free, it's in the Bible. And the Bible was, is within Kali Yoga. Did I respond to your question, Damayanti?
Yes, thank you. And I was meditating on how I'm numbing myself this morning. I'm not meditating on it, just actually I was feeling judgmental self, I was judging myself. And so this class was helpful just to look at the full picture. And then I have a next question, but I understand the time's kind of coming to a close. But just like what do we do? Just noticing within ourselves, like so much vice or so much. It's just so much conditioning, and I'm aware. I have knowledge of what's possible. Like every time you open a book, you read about devotion, or like if I go to, I don't know. It's just like I have so much knowledge of what's possible, or like what maybe a pure state would look like, and then I'm just looking at myself, and I struggle with the
distance.
The distance. So,
well, what do we do usually? We fill it with guilt. And that's not very conducive for spiritual life. Guilt is not a great motivator to make advancement in spiritual life. And what we can do with that is go to humility. Yeah, I'm so fallen. I'm born in Kali Yoga. I don't know cleanliness. I don't, just go to really humility. And each of those things can bring us to humility. And humility is always one in the list anyway. So yes, I see I'm angry, I'm negative, I'm struggling with my senses, I'm struggling with my tongue, I'm not getting up in the morning, I'm not capable of being patient, I'm not capable of being tolerant. I'm always in false prestige. I'm so inclined to be puffed up about my little advancement or my little achievement in spiritual life. Yeah, so that's wonderful. It's great for developing humility.
it seems like in that sense, humility is related to the virtue of truthfulness.
It's very related to the virtue of truthfulness. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why truthfulness is the last leg, and we need to use truthfulness in order to make advancement. And by using truthfulness, like to really look at ourselves with truth, checking in, yes, this body, and that's not who we are. Who we are, the core, we are eternal servant of Krishna. I'm not Mary Glashin. I'm not this body and mind and intelligence that are incapable of practicing Krishna consciousness or developing any of the 24 quality of a devotee, 26 quality of a devotee. That's not who I am either. I don't need to identify with that. But if I identify, then by being truthful, I can go into humility. And then, yes, I don't need to identify with that.
I just
Thank
want to add one last point that this morning I went to the old habit of like self-judgment and heaviness and guilt about like, oh, look how I spent my time is trying to escape my emotion. I go in or escape my duty, or, you know, like I felt pain. But I was like, this is boring. Like, not this is boring. I was like, what am I gonna do with my day? Like I have a whole day ahead. So I did get up and do my, and I came to the program chanting, I'm not willing to lay and wallow in the pain of judgment, and just like it's a brand new day. Like I can start over. So I noticed, at least a shift within my consciousness, I guess, like, accessing some compassion towards myself, like, okay, that's the truth. Now a little compassion, and then a little austerity after that, and then a little virtue, then I can make a turn, Anyway,
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing your success. Entourage Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.